Of episode 1. We've been doing an acronym for the word FACTS. Facts of life is something that David Vernon has created, and right now we're up to the final letter in FACTS, S, separation. So tell us about separation.
Well, and just to remind everyone, that this is, all of this information comes pretty much from the teachings of A Course in Miracles.
Mm-hmm.
So, separation, this is a big one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's, I don't think we go through a day where we don't experience some level of separation. Let's just talk about, what the real meaning of the word is, especially to most people. Separation means something that separates or divides. So it means that, you've taken it apart. You are no longer adherent to that. So, for example, if I choose to disagree with someone, and I then choose to judge them incorrect, I am then judging that I can change what God created. And this is where the whole separation begins.
When you're judging, it's always incorrect.
Absolutely, absolutely. But when you're judging someone specifically, you're actually, projecting that judgment at them. You're actually judging not only that person, but you're judging, well, yeah, that person, but you're judging what God created. And
you're what God created, so you're judging yourself in a way, which is something that a lot of New Ageies kind of get into.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that because that kind of like dispels the atonement, doesn't it? So, however, and when this happens, that's separation. So in my own stillness, I would rather choose to allow that the person be allowed their own reality and not judge them. In my mind, that's unity. Some people believe, that God, can be an entity that is outside of them. And again, this is another form of separation because the separation really manifests from our egos. It manifests from the ego. As Wayne Dyer says, edging God out. The ego would have us believe that we can change what God created. And a lot of times this is what happens this is exactly what's happening when you see two people arguing. Okay? And it's because one person is trying to change the other person's mind. And so the separation promotes that, there is, first of all, it promotes that there is imperfection. And that one thing is more worthy than another. And Micah, we can even choose to separate from ourselves. And an example of that would be someone who is doing something that really makes them unhappy. Like, for example, they're going to a job that they hate every day. That's a form of separating from yourself because you're not really being who you are. So anyone who's doing something that makes them unhappy is experiencing such a separation. The separation is the proof that we have forgotten who we really are, which is, a divine creation of, I call it God.
Yeah. I used to go around saying, well, I'm a child of God. I'm a child of God. You know what I mean? And some New Ageies say that we are God, and which is also a belief that I do have, that we ourselves are God as a whole.
A collective consciousness.
A collective consciousness. That's what God really is to me. Another way to describe God is a positive stream. I think of it as the stream is positive. There's actually no negative. Anything that you perceive to be as negative, what it really is just you're not going with the stream. You're going against the stream. And why would anyone do that?
Unless they're a herring.
Right. So I'm gonna get into Marianne Williamson because this actually goes very well with separation and very well with atonement, even, which was the second letter in FACTS, obviously. Marianne Williamson has this saying. We have the saying "forgive and forget." We also have turned it into "I'll forgive, but I won't forget." She has this saying. If someone's done something to you, well, love you, like you even, wish you the best, I have no bad feelings toward you, but I don't have to go to lunch with you. Okay? And in a way that kind of sounds like separation. But it really isn't, because at the end of the day, you cannot be around someone that really makes you feel discomfort. If you do feel discomfort, that is a form of separation. You're not feeling good about yourself, and that's not what God is thinking, and that's not what inner self is thinking, that's not what inner being is thinking. You're really here, you're really meant to feel good all the time. In fact, stepping away from them could actually be, or not going to lunch with them, could actually be one of the most loving things you can do. Because it's also one way of you allowing them to be who they are, while they may not be, quote-unquote, aligned with you, with your beliefs, you know. And at the end of the day, if you have reached a place where you can be comfortable enough to be around them, you know, and actually have a friendship with them, then that's great. And that's always possible when you're not judging the person. So if you choose not to go to lunch with someone, just don't forget that don't hold any hatred toward them, any bad feelings, any resentment, because that's the true separation, not the physical separation of not spending time with them, because sometimes we do have to not spend time with people to feel good. Hopefully we can all get into a place where we can be around all different types of people with so many different perspectives and feel good all the time, and that absolutely is possible, you know.
Well, it's interesting that you would say that particular way, because another thing that, you know, the Course teaches is that our bodies are designed for the separation. And when you think in terms of, you know, someone making you feel physically uncomfortable, you're really identifying with the body at that point. And what the Course really talks about, and in my mind as well, as, you know, the separation is the separation through the mind. The body is irrelevant.
Yes.
The body is irrelevant. All that matters is that, you know, you strive, or I would strive to bring that unity, and of course that comes all the way back to the beginning of the facts of life, which would be what? Forgiveness. You know? So that's where everything begins. That's where you know, the bloom reblooms, so to speak, and that's where we wake up and remember who we really are.
Yeah. Well, you can have forgiveness and not have lunch with someone, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I mean, not going to lunch with someone is just you simply reminding yourself that it's not a physical thing.
Right.
It's not a physical thing. You got to do the work.
Right. And what else can we say about that? You know, we have to remember, you know, for lack of a better term, we have to remember not to take people's shit. Because we will, you know, some of us will run across people in that way. I think, you know, I consider David to be a pretty evolved person. He doesn't run into too much of that. I don't think, anyway. I don't hear too many stories about it. But at the end of the day, I think that these things that come back to haunt us, these negative experiences, are really what they're there for, is to remind us to change our mind, to choose again. And, you know, for those of us who do think in those terms, I'm not going to take your shit, you know, that's when we have to step away from that person, or that's when we have to stick up for ourselves and be self-empowered. And some of us are not always that way. We do have to be self-empowered with remembering that the object of the whole thing isn't separation. So that's it on separation, and that's pretty much it for our show. For episode 1, is there anything we want to add to it before we end it?
I just hope that everybody who sees this finds some level of peace, love, and joy. And that's my purpose behind doing it.
Yeah. Which equals self-empowerment, actually. Self-empowerment doesn't have to be so abrasive as it could sound to some people.
It's actually very gentle.
Yeah, and but for some people who need that route, here I am, because I tend to be an abrasive person. I come from the abrasive perspective. But again, our goal is still the same, and that's peace, love, and happiness. You know, so
the facts of life.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching Garden Dialogue episode 1, and can't wait to see you again on episode.
Send us your comments.
Can't wait to see you again on episode 2. All right.
Peace.